Welcome in. Hi, how you guys doing? I told you I like this background. Uh, yes, the energy fields, or like Oreo. What is it? Oreo? How do you say? Or Aria Borealis? It's like the aura, right? Borealis. I gotta look what that means. There's a meaning to that word, but anyways, glad to have you here. How did you guys? I hope you guys. We just, like I said last video, we just got over the holidays, the Thanksgiving season. Call it what you will and call it what you may, and not accept it and be hardcore against it. I used to be totally. Now I just see it as a time for maybe families to get together, relax, and that's a time with us who know to kind of harmonize with the gift of family, and maybe for some friends over who do know, and maybe you got some family members who are open to knowing, which would even make it more sweeter, even make that cranberry sauce more sweeter. But anyways, then we did our sacred and secret and showed the correlation of how these two terms actually go together and how they go together. Even kind of showed you historically how things have been used for you and against you by using the same thing. Just what you're doing is opposite of what it's saying or doing. But anyways, I got a really good video today. As you know, if you watch me and you've been watching for a while, and if you go back, I did a few videos on Mr. Musk. We did the whole dark MAGA thing was the most recent, and then before that, a while ago, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I did a video on an interview with Elon's babysitter when he was a child, and she shares some very interesting stories. That doesn't surprise me, whether it's, she's true or just saying that or not. I'm not surprised if it's true. And and we're gonna tap in with somebody who I really respect, Sevan Bomar from Secret Energy or Understanding. I got a video he put out about what was going on now with politically, how this was connected to even ancient times, and how some of these ancient spirits just take on new bodies, kind of like what Sanchez has been saying. Knowing how to come through death or cheat it, which in Egypt it started, from what Sanchez said, to the place of hijacking certain things and taking on new bodies. I even thought, and I wanted to share this, but this will go with it, and I'll even say it. Recently, there was this picture, a shot put out about Alexander the Great statue, right, his head, and how he looked like Trump's son. I can't remember his first name. It looked just like Trump's son, right? And we're going to get in this. He's putting some things together, and definitely a great person in the conscious community, teaching knowledge and stuff, and I really appreciate him as Mr. Sevan Bomar. I really appreciate what he does. So we're going to watch a short video as he talks about some of the things happening and some of the characters that are being portrayed and who they may be from the past. Let's go.
Reptilian, just so you understand where that. But these leaders that have so much capital, but we're now seeing more and more generations where they give a shit. They spit on you. They laugh about it. They blog it and film it. And this is weird. But these leaders that have so much capital seem to watch as everybody crumbles that literally could have been saved if they just decided not to have one day in Monaco. That's more reptilian, just so you understand where that comes from. And some of the ancestors were also like that naturally. Elon had this demon mode. This is the profile of the villain. Why? That crazy childhood is like formula for entities that like to possess. The reptile can excel at many things, especially like battles and that kind of stuff. But when it comes to empathy and love, no. In that group, family thing, no. That's not what that brain is designed to do. Now I'm going to show.
I had some crackers here that were given to me for the holidays. I was eating, and I've been wanting to get in here for a second. He said something very that he said his childhood. When you understand his childhood, which is the video I shared with his babysitter from his childhood, you will know. Go back and watch the video I did with her interview. Then he said demon mode. And I was going to share this and had forgot to about a month ago. There was somebody who worked with him, and he had a video on a news channel, and he talked heavily about Elon, and he talked about the word he used was some of the things that Elon would do in business and some of the things that he would do. He specifically used the word Sevan just used. He said he has a demon mode, and he said, maybe I'll find that video in the future. He said when he came out of it, and we went to the next area, and the guy said, I asked him, man, Elon, you're upset and mad. Why did you do that and go at that person like that? And you know what he said? What are you talking about? Like he didn't recall it. Very heavy.
Show you a few things that gives me the speculation that Marduk is in Elon Musk, whether he knows it or not.
Wow.
And this is one.
The following clip has been taken from a Tribe Vibe special called The Book of Power. In this exploration of hidden truths and human potential, we unravel the threads connecting ancient Sumerian wisdom to modern tech pioneers, reveal your inner standing of existence and your...
And said, he had a black hat on. He said, I'm not only, as you can see, I'm not only MAGA, I'm dark, gothic, dog MAGA. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's another one. So that goes in the files. Another thing that was mentioned on that same interview with Johnny Harris was one of his colleagues, older man, definitely very influential, mentioned Elon had this demon mode, damn near, a very dark side. And he said he saw it more when he was acquiring Twitter than anything. So this is just from somebody else's mouth saying this guy had a whole nother side to him that was unfathomable for people who follow him. Okay, so we're just taking notes. Now I'm going to show you a few things that gives me the speculation that Marduk is in Elon Musk, whether he knows it or not. And this is one, generally when Marduk enters into a body, the body starts looking like this around the chin, okay? So this chin area, now this image in itself was later on debunked as a hoax, right? But the SAALM, which was this organization that was really putting out all this information a while ago, it was like a lot of their stuff ended up debunked, but then there was a weird, eerie truth to it, almost like it was counterintelligence in a certain way. But there was this kind of face, and I had more pictures of different people who had seemed to be possessed by this entity that took that drop jaw. Now, I don't have a picture of Elon right now, but you'll notice that same thing. Like when he's smoking weed on the interview with Joe Rogan. Once he hits it, take a look at when he sits back and when he does the chin, because it'll be exactly that way. And then you'll start seeing more and more like, it seems like this area is a bit more pronounced. Okay, well, let's go into some of the archives here. So I have this guy, and he's Japanese. He makes no videos in English. And he posts like 30 times a day. I had to unsubscribe. And he was going on and on and on about that Da Vinci had already disclosed the alien relationship between humanity and that's what he was really painting. And that many of his paintings featured these characters that had these elongated heads, right? And they also pointed out even the elongated chins like the Habsburg. And then there was just a whole dossier, and this will have to be laid out for next Tribe Vibes, of just showing how the empire of Marduk, or the Sumerians, if you may, which kind of broke themselves down into numbers and symbols because that's what works on the left hemispheres of the brain, embedded their entire pantheon and hierarchy within the actual ruling and governmental structures to this very day. And that it never needed to be a lot of them. They work top down. So they control the rulers that nobody has access to, like your Trumps, your Elon, whoever's running most of the stuff. They possess them And then it's top down from there. But back in the day, they didn't just possess them, they interbred with them, because that was the whole reptilian agenda. It was to interbreed. This is the original samurai. It was to interbreed with the human species, but it wasn't like what we see is like, now when they be explaining this, you even almost imagine a cold alien spacecraft with advanced technology and them in there splicing DNA and all this kind of stuff. This is the visual that comes up when they're teaching people about this right now, right? They want the clicks. But the ancient accounts record this as a rapier, basically a raper, that it really intermingled with the tribes and birthed more offspring until eventually you had so much of the original Draco and original Orion and the original Syrian blood within the tribes. And then the tribes would go to war with each other because their parents, if you may, or the entities that they corresponded to would use them, speak to them, okay? And this is where the whole thing, as we uncovered in last Tribe Eyes, about the spirits talking, right? So they would speak to the ones that worshipped them, okay? And some worshipped some gods, some worshipped other gods, but there was really only two sides in this, really. And that's why you got the Arab traditions, which are now still split now into more factions, Sunni, Shia. And then you had what you would call the original Judites, right? Which were split into their factions. But again, what I'm pointing out here is that you had some type of lion serpent. That's Leo. They say Leo, Draco, and Orion. Okay? But again, they were never like on Front Street. So when the population started getting very high, they moved into behind the scenes. But when they ever came around, it's again like looking at these images are to let you understand almost the stature in itself. When they ever came around, it was easy to tell that they were around because they were larger and they didn't get much pushback because they had powers. And all of the smaller people or descendants, which were hybrids, demigods, Hiberus, humans, they definitely did not want to challenge these entities. Just so you understand, this is why the world is still steeped into worship, because they were traumatized by these beings. Now, here's the real crack. Marduk's symbol, as it's known, is an X. And it's because Marduk was directly, and this is the picture, let me just go to it. Marduk, who in the pantheon, let's say, Marduk split the earth with Nibiru. Okay? So this planet, as we're seeing it, was depicted as what you see on the left. It is highly possible that the body that we're calling like Earth itself is the body of this, what they're depicting to the left. But it was split to a point where we even have a sky, which is cryptic. It seems to be hinting that there once was no sky. There was no separation between what we're calling the ocean and the sky until Nibiru, aka Planet X, hit Earth or Tiamat and split her. And in that way, Marduk ascended in the pantheon for that. Okay, so what they're saying is that before Marduk, he was like low rank, great grandson, half breed, born on Earth. But when he split Tiamat, he ranked up and ended up being given, in many ways, control over different parts of Earth. Now, how can we see if this is true? Take a look at this. And what I want you to ask yourself, this is a real image over at SpaceX. Doesn't that look a little strange to you? Meaning that, how long will it take humanity to realize that the extraterrestrials, quote unquote, are already here? Look at this. Look at the size of those things. Like the other day, we drove by some windmills, the big windmills. And we always have this thing that when we see these windmills, it has this eerie feeling. The turbines, the big giant ones, it has this eerie feeling. Like when something is so large, it's dismaling. That's the term, dismal. And, this is just a clip because it immediately was like, as I continue to get those transmissions, look, they're already here. They're working with this dude. And now, and this was months and months ago, like this is years ago. But then when you start seeing how it all unfolds, because like you can go and find old Marduk is Elon Musk videos on YouTube from yours truly. But what I'm saying is that as things now unfold, we're in the future now somehow this guy is in the White House now. Like he posted on Twitter, he was in the White House Oval Office and he had the sink in his hand and he said, let that sink in, right? Which is somewhat of a double pun because the expression is he brought everything but the kitchen sink, right? That's a term we use in the US, right? But he had the kitchen sink, meaning that, hey, I'm bringing everything. Go look at it. It's on Twitter. It's 100 million views or whatever, because he's literally taken the platform and use it as a way to be the voice and sway minds of the world. And then now everybody that he had is now rolled into everybody that Trump has. And then now they are continuously amassing. You see what I mean? And it's just like a word to the wise. It's just like realizing how these entities that have these recursive classic stories do seem to come back. Because in conclusion, the other thing about Marduk, if you know the story, is that they blew up his spaceport. Marduk was basically abandoned on Earth or trapped on Earth. His basically ascendancies went back to Nibiru, which is planet X, or actually back to their constellation. And that I'm telling you, this is why Elon Musk has adopted the X symbol, which was what he called PayPal first. Remember, it wasn't PayPal first. It was X.com and X Incorporated.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Then when he sold PayPal, he didn't sell the name. He kept the rights to the name and kept the domain. Then now here we are 20 years later after that, 15 years later, wherever, about 20 years later, and he names the company X again. So they're always talking about, hey, this guy's fixated on this X. And it's because it's Nibiru, it's Planet X, it's Marduk, who carries an X or a hammer, and that hammer is a fascia. And then you can connect all the rest of the imagery that I sent across, which will show you just how often this symbol is shown. And then finally, to be aware, once again, and that's why I say you sometimes don't want to get caught up in this. You need to get yourself together, like realize your God, you realize your supreme power. We'll use that word, realize your supreme power and keep it moving. But that Earth had been through these successions of the entire rulership of Earth being passed over to what also still looks like Sumerian gods in stone. And these are huge too. This is not a small relief. So, and this also a very popular, famous one. It basically talks about the kingship being given in the world. Okay. And then you get the modern names like Ahura Mazda, which is Zoroastrian. But you would have to understand, like, all those Zoroastrian gods are Sumerian gods. Why? Let's just look at it real quick. You've seen enough Zoroastrian stuff. Doesn't that look like, Sumerian stuff? Doesn't that look like Zoroastrian is connected definitely to Sumerian?
Oh,
right?
wow, completely.
Seeing that's that same.
And actually, put this on pause for a second. I knew that it was somewhat I connected. That makes sense now when I see the wings and see the whole aspect. But it's also a lot of what Zoroastrian is from is what Christianity is. It actually comes from this too. with the Savior and the 3 days and God, Emmanuel and all that stuff. Yeah.
But except for Zoroastrianism is like Christianity.
See, there you go.
For the people back in the day about the original system of the Sumerian gods, meaning that by the time that drops, Marduk has already ascended the tree and has complete control. And I've given you all these images because, and this also came courtesy of Kodoshi Matsu, right? No. That's not his name. What is his name? It'll probably be on one of these images because he watermarks a lot. So, but this was just things that I gathered and put into the file over time to, continue to watch this process, which continuously becomes this, and also axe. Remember, axe is definitely X. That's why X is in the word axe, right? And the hammer. So this kind of symbolism being present in the reality, but being used in a way where most people are kind of unsuspecting. They don't really understand what this symbolism is about. And then also, it's really Hillel. It's not Lucifer, and it's definitely not Satan. But they then absorb all of those names. But Hillel is correct, because that is the real initiatory rite inside of Freemasonry, okay? But they do show you, like, just like in that movie Prometheus, they show you kind of like what we're talking about, right? He basically looks like an overpowered skinhead. Has a larger stature, and he's playing the role of Prometheus or Lucifer, or what we would say is the modernized Lucifer. But the Shamash, which is the X symbol in itself, you see that X in the back, but that X is also the cross. So all those symbols are there. Okay, so let me conclude. What does all this mean? What does this symbol mean? It signifies a time in which Earth was conquered. That's what a cross is.
Since the dawn of time, our ancestors looked to the stars for guidance. Now, ancient wisdom meets modern technology, introducing metametrics. Navigate life's challenges with confidence, armed with predictive knowledge of your personal cycles and cosmic blueprint. Uncover hidden talents, optimize relationships, and boost your well-being with personalized insights. Simple AI metametrics. It's ancient wisdom.
When Nibiru passed, the gravitational pull was so high that it destabilized Earth. And the waters went into the vault and it split. Also, another planet was called Ain, I think it's AIN, became the Milky Way. There's another name for it. And it just basically is dust of an entire planet that was hit by Nibiru, right? Planet X. So again, whether or not this is factual doesn't take away from that it was written about thousands and thousands of years ago, and that when you have these modern initiates especially that are initiating themselves into these type of societies and systems, they're often going right into these Sumerian rites. They're going right into the Egyptian rites. Now, things that we need to understand is that Egyptian is almost like a technology in itself, a technology of being able to call up the spirits of things that are on other timelines, basically. You can call them God, you can give them different terms, but there are many different gods and positions. And also, according to this knowledge, it also speaks on why the pyramids are over there and they line up to Orion, and why Angkor Wat is way over there and they align to Draco. And it's because that where you put these buildings on, or these constructions on Earth, determine what they have in correlation in what we call the cosmos. So if someone was worshiping another god or other gods, they would build their own pyramids or temples, which you see in Nubia. Like, they're almost like acupuncture points themselves. You would see their own pyramids, temples, and obelisks, but sitting on certain points on the earth, and those are like antennas.
That's what I was thinking.
And when you're around that, you get the transmission.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I was shaking my head, was the alignment would call down, would be in an energetic stream of what to call down. Wow. That makes total sense.
But in the conquering of Marduk, all of the worship systems and everything came under the domain of Marduk, and all of the old systems were destroyed. And this is why even York was saying, hey, I'm Murdoch. I'm from the planet Marduk. Because basically before that destruction of what happened to Earth, you had a Nibirian society actually here on Earth, but they weren't under Marduk. They were under Anu. Then when the whole cataclysm happened, Enlil and Anu were technically on one side, and children of Enlil and Anu remained on Earth when they went back to Nibiru, and Marduk basically took out all of his pain and all this on the children of the old Nibirians. And this is just one thing that Marduk has done on the planet. So now, again, this is why they throw, this is, again, if you understand symbolism, they say that Marduk is the ram in the thicket, which is what they model Baphomet off of, and what they model the sacrifice, even Jesus, because we know Jesus is Marduk, and this is where you put all the put it all together. Like, he's the sun king that is a literal, almost like a literal man that wants the worship of others, but he plays this role that he's been sacrificed. This ram in the thicket, which is in the Old Testament, which was the ram that Abraham took, I believe. Yeah, I think it was Abraham.
Sacrifice.
And he sacrificed to Yahweh first. This is the story of Marduk. He's the sun god that was sacrificed, blah, 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 blah. Because again, the rites then get into weird stuff. And I won't elaborate on this today, but the rites are what you would make up as the evil magic of today. Like when they do all these weird sacrifice and blood and killing and all this kind of stuff. These are the rites, if you may. And as you can see, this stuff goes back from antiquity. But the originals, like, because a lot of times when you look at these images now, you see like sadhus, Brahmins, right? Which we know is Abraham. Abraham is a Brahmin. His wife is Sarah. She's Saraswati, right? So you get a chance to see, hey, they keep fooling everybody because everybody is not united.
What I've been saying, folks.
The powers of the Draco is for sure.
I mean, he's saying exactly what I've been saying, because we're not united in unity. And they keep running the same game. Abraham is Brahmin. Saraswati is. They just keep it's a continued of an ancient story. You just add an A to Brahmin and you got Abraham.
Sure, in fear and chaos. They operate in that because they don't have emotions. So while everything else is going crazy, they're rather calm.
Wow.
Because they don't feel it. But they know because, and it explained it specifically. I actually will copy and paste it here. We'll go into questions in a minute. But it explained why it's that way. Like why, when you don't have that faculty, like for us, actually explain, because we have this faculty where the way that our neocortex is designed, it makes us care about the things that are around us and preserve each other and all that. So they started exploiting that. They started exploiting that emotional faculty that we have. Not just that we're nice, but that we can detect emotions and empathy. And then they created this fear-based reality where there's terror all the time, where there's things blowing up, where there's financial crises and all this kind of stuff going on because it keeps us in disarray. You look at the world there, because our emotional always goes towards in that same empathy, like, hey, I want to do something about this. I want to become a part of this. I want to join. You see what I mean? So they exploit that to the teeth. So as I said before, while the factions behind the scenes may not be completely united, right? Like they are beefing. They have agreed to unite on that cause of keeping human beings suppressed. The same bodies that we arrived in, the same tribes that we arrived in, unless you are sitting right in the cabinet of the ruler, you're not in.
Not in the club.
You're part of the game and the chess that they play. And
Exoteric.
Almost in many ways through agreement. Through something that you even say, yeah, this is what I want to happen. And that also can happen when you don't have a good picture of what else you could do.
Very good, very powerful. Let me go out and we will. All right. Had to share that. So you heard some of the stuff that he said again with Elon Marduk. That's powerful. It makes sense to me. Even the connection of these ancient stories with Marduk is even Jesus, the sun god, and the power and control connected to the reptilian, meaning they have no empathy when a bunch of us do because they're cold-blooded. They have no empathy. They have no feelings, and they will use our feelings against us to, because that can happen. You can get over emotional when it's all poured on you, when all you're seeing is murder and no people being mistreated in the world, and the fear-based pump, fear, which the news, that's what they do. Powerful. Told you. We're onto something here. We're decoding the matrix here. We're decoded with the ancients up until now, how these nows, the names have changed, but they're the ancients. I'm telling you, man, when you wake up, the reality we live in is not what we think. And for you new folks, it's part of the awakening. It's part of the dark soul of the night, that stage when you realize, what is this damn place I'm at? But it also follows up on the other side. What are you really that's really astonishing and great that you don't know? You guys have a great day. We will have some more for you.